All right, good morning, coffee and roller derby. I am hooked on Christopher's roller derby game. It's brilliant. So I was able to do 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Put up the videos, and I was doing just a couple of things wrong, which fortunately I caught one of the things. However, I still was doing. I fixed how I was doing one thing wrong, but didn't fix the second piece of that. And fortunately, Chris was able to watch and help me there. So I decided I'm loving this so much. I went ahead and made a full schedule for the entire season, 1949 NRDL teams, and I made a full schedule. And I'm going to start over and do it right. I'm digging this way too much. You might say I'm kind of hooked on it. So can't get enough of it. So week one we have Brooklyn at San Fran. Brooklyn starting lineup: Midge, Tuffy, Brashen, Vivian Johnson, Elaine Benoit, Gloria Hager, and Annabelle Slugger Keeley are our starting women for the Brooklyn Red Devils. Starting men for the Brooklyn Red Devils: Ken Monty, Slammin' Sammy Scoble, Gilbert Bucky Buckholz, Herbie Eckstein, and Jimmy Calder. The stars of this team are Annabelle Slugger Keeley, Midge Tuffy Brushin, and Ken Monty is a defensive guy. So very good. They've got two defensive players. They will be taking points away from the enemy, which is sweet. So cool. This game is so cool. It's very good use of my time series. Heck, it might do my time series engine better than I do. San Francisco Bay Bombers. Starting women: Ann Cavello, Judy Polish Ace Sawinski, Roberta Mitchell, Gloria Miffy Misford, Lorraine DeVries. And they have 1, 2, 3 really solid. 4 on the bench. They have Pat Burns on the bench, who's really good. The men: Charlie O'Connell, George Gentleman Adams, George Run Run Jones, Bill Lorino, and Wild Bill Reynolds. Again, Ann Cavello is a superstar. She's a 2+0. Unbelievable. And Charlie O'Connell is a 2D. So San Francisco definitely has the stronger team, but by a hair. But they're gonna be adding points. They're gonna be subtracting points. So it's defense versus this team actually has a defender, but these are two defenders. This is an offense and a defensive play. All right, the women for Brooklyn to start off this game. It's going to be 3. The women are C. 3C is 7. So the women score 7 for Brooklyn out of the gate. And the women for San Francisco on C are going to score 7. All right, the women's stars, a 1, 2, and a 5, will affect play defensively. No effect for the women there. And again, San Francisco actually has a offensive bonus. 1, she's going to score 1. So the women are going to have +1. I'm going to put here, I'm actually going to start noting the stars. So Cavello with a run, because I love the fact that we have these rosters rated. It's beautiful. My basketball game, this is based on the first basketball time game where you have rated players. I don't actually play my advanced basketball time. I'm beginning to think I should now because this is so good. But he used basketball time as the base to make this. So Cavello's going to add a point, right? +1. And the women over here got nothing. All right, the men for the Brooklyn Red Devils, 5. And they are a D. 5D is 7 more points. And I'm actually going to track what they score per turn. I want to see how the men did individually. It's kind of cool. And the men for the San Francisco Bay Bombers, ooh, not good. They're going to score, and they are a C. 7. Oh, so they keep pace. All right, halftime adjustment, +2. And we got 7, 8, 15, 16, 17 points for the San Francisco Bay Bombers, and 14 points for Brooklyn. So right now, San Francisco, looking at their ratings and their grades, this is the better team. So we'll see if they can hang in there. The women for the Red Devils after halftime, 6. Holy cow! And they are a C. They're going to score 8. And so the women really get on their skates and start pushing the score up. And the women for San Francisco, 2. Not so hot, 7. So they're going to drop down 7. All right, our star men for the we do have a defensive player, 1, 2, or 5. He'll subtract that many points from San Francisco. Ken Monty. Yes, so Ken Monty, awesome. So Monty, with great defense, -2 from the enemy. That's awesome. And you subtract. So what I was doing wrong is if I roll a 1, 2, or 5, you subtract that many points with the defensive star. If it's an offensive star, you add that many points. I was just adding their rating, which, duh, I should know better. Their rating just determines their grades. All right, the men's stars. So they really need Charlie O'Connell to subtract points from their enemy. And it's going to be no. So Charlie O'Connell makes no adjustment. And that means the men are going to score for Brooklyn. The men score 5. The men are a D. D5 is 7 points. And we subtract 2 from, as Monty is making it hard on the men. 2 on the San Francisco men is 5 points, folks. And now we're going to add it up for a total for the whole game. 14, 22, 29 for Brooklyn. And we got 17, 24, 29. 29 for San Francisco. Remember, San Francisco gets what's called a hometown final rally. And I'm actually putting, so on my box score sheets, I'm actually putting rally in here to remind me to give home team that chance at a rally, right? So, and then overtime's automatically on this timesheet. But I actually added a rally because a home team always has a shot at rallying in a tie game. 29-29. This is amazing. San Francisco's so good. Will they rally? Where is my rally information? If they're tied, roll a 1d6. A 1, 2, or 5. Higher number wins by 1. Oh, that's overtime, I think. I want the rally. Where's the rally? Where did I read that? Where did I read that very cool rally thing? I thought I had read the rally. Let's take a look here. Whenever the leading team is up by more than 5 points, we never had that problem. If the home team is trailing by 5, we haven't had that problem. If the home team is trailing by 5 points or less after the final rolls have been made, they get a final chance. Oh, if they're trailing by 5 or less. They're not trailing, they're tied, so we are going into overtime. So we're going to roll for overtime. Sorry about that. See, this is why you have to read the fine print. Still learning, right? But boy, do I love this game. So there is no chance at a rally because they're tied. All right, so overtime. Here we go. Overtime. 1, 2, or 5. Each team starting with a home team. So the home team's roll of 3. That's a no score. The visiting team's roll of 2 is going to win it by 1 point. So Brooklyn in overtime gets a jam. 30. Can you believe it? Brooklyn is going to upset San Francisco. Highlights. I'm going to put here Ken Monty. Ken Monty of Brooklyn. Shut down a second half jam. -2 from and that saved him. Had he not made that -2 play, they lose this game. That's amazing. And so Ken Monty's already got a highlight in my history books for the Brooklyn Red Devils. Ken Monty of Brooklyn shuts down a second half jam. I put in parentheses -2 for what that means math wise, and boosts Brooklyn to overtime bin, and boosts Brooklyn to an OT victory. on the road. That is so awesome. So the only thing we don't have is like how many points they score individually, but that's okay. I don't want the game to get so bogged down that it's too slow to play. But there, I did it right. Completely correct, finally. This was the inaugural season of the NRDL, 1949, and that's game one. So let's go on to game two. Game two, so let me write it in here, by the way. So we got a 30-29 OT. That's so cool. All right, man. I am absolutely addicted to this. And again, this is based, I've got a baseball game that uses ratings for the players. I've got a basketball version that rates the players. And I've got a hockey version that rates the players. They're the advanced games. They're in the Time Sports book. The first Time Sports book. So that's the more advanced versions. Racing time, the drivers, everybody has a numerical rating. And those things are added up for stuff. So anyway, point is, this reminds me of how good my original advanced versions of the time games were. It's the best use so far. It's fantastic. So I may need to go back to my original, more advanced time sports games because they're so, that little bit of detail matters so much. Okay, here we go. Chicago. Let's take a look at Chicago. Chicago's women leave a lot to be desired. They're an F rating in this match. And the New York women are incredible, B. The men of Chicago are a D-rated team, and the men of New York are a C-rated team. So again, we have a second home team that's actually better than the away team. Home team actually has an advantage in this game too. So how San Francisco managed to lose that game, Ken Monty is a star. That's what that tells me. Because they had the +2 advantage at home. And if Ken Monty doesn't make that -2 play to negate that, no go, man. It's amazing. All right, so Chicago's clearly the underdog in this. But again, as we've just seen, Brooklyn was clearly the underdog over there. And San Francisco, they managed to beat San Fran. That was what makes this so fun, so dynamic. You would think games that have such a small matrix for scoring, it would always be this, too tight and too, well, I think they're actually a little more dynamic than that. As long as you've got that dice hot, right? All right, the women of Chicago. Oh, by the way, let's look at Chicago. Chicago's starting women is Annis Big Red Jensen, Dolores Doss, Betty Boyd, Mary Fabian, and Shirley Burgess. On the men's side, they've got Roger Schrader, stud. Burt Wall is a stud offensive scorer. Bob Yak Yak Satterfield, Jack Crazy Legs Walker, and Gus Grabovich. So unfortunately, Chicago's not real good as a team, but they do have stars. Annis Big Red Jensen is a defensive star, and Burt Wall is an offensive star. So they're capable with those stars. Wow, 5. So 5. Remember, this is an F-rated team. So they're going to score 7. They're going to do about the average, best they can. The women, New York women, are going to score 7 as well, despite a poor roll. All right, the scorer for Chicago, 5. She's going to take away. She's a defensive. So wow. So Annis Big Red Jensen's going to take 5 points away from the women. Holy way! So I'm going to put Jensen. She's going to subtract 5 points from the enemy. That's a brilliant defensive performance today. Already. Best defensive performance of the weekend, I bet. Wow. So take 5 away from New York's score. They're going to be at 2 points this turn, not 7. And now we got to make the New York's star roll. 2. They're going to take, he's going to score 2. So Jerry Murray is going to add 2. That's the wrong team. Did I read off Chicago? I didn't read off the starters of the Chiefs. That's what it is. Jerry Murray, Barbara Bobby Mater, Blanche Lopez, Mary Ciofini, and Helen Gardner. The men are Gene Gammon, Billy the Flash Bogish, Freddie Hawaii Noah, Howie Pee Wee Raines, and Cecil Stretch Hatfield. However, Gene Murray just added 2 points to that score, so they're technically going to be at 4. Right? So Murray scores 2. Wow. So Murray and Jensen battling. Murray finds a way to get 2 extra, but Jensen stifles their entire offense. All right, let's go to the men. All right, here we go. The men for Chicago, and they do have a superstar offensive player. 5. D5 is 7 more points for the men of Chicago. And New York, they have a defensive star. 1 for them. They're on C. 7 for them. And we don't check their stars, right? And +2 for home field. So it's going to be 11, 12, 13 points for New York. And 14 for Chicago. So once again, the visiting team with a defensive performance, just like Brooklyn. Great defense from Monty. Brilliant defense from Ines Jensen, the female lead for this team. Outstanding. All right, the women for Chicago. Again, they're an F7. Holy cow, they are playing brilliantly. 7 points. And the women for New York, 5 on C is 8 points. They needed to get that point back. They're now tied. All right, the men for Chicago, their star power is 3. 3 points are going to be added by Burt Wall. Wow, Wall +3. So Wall's star power really pays off. The Chiefs have a defensive star. 4, not going to affect play. That's too bad. And the men's final run here. And we're going to add 3 to this for Wall. And again, the men for Chicago are D. D is 7. Wow. And the men of New York, 4 on C is 8. This is going to be a close game. All right, so we've got 14, 28, 29, 30, 31 is the final score for Chicago. Hold your breath. 13, 21, 29 is the final score of the home team. Remember, they do get a rally now. They get that rally. Here we go. If they're trailing by 5 or less, they get 1 roll to rally. A 1, 2, or 5 is a final jam comeback. No, the rally will fail. And look at this. Chicago on the road's going to win 31-29. So the scores are still close. Even though I was doing the game wrong, my scores weren't so bad I couldn't have stuck with my first 3 weeks. But I decided to start fresh. Chicago's going to win 31-29. That's amazing. But we have Jensen with a huge day today. Stifling the New York offense for the women by 5 points. Highlights, Jensen is Annis Jensen with a brilliant defensive performance. -5. Launching a word, and they are, again, this is an example of the team ratings. You would just roll the dice, get the team ratings, and this team would lose more than it wins because of its grades, its overall roster. But there's an advantage of your stars helping a bad team, vaulting a bad team, kind of like a basketball team. Michael Jordan, even if everybody around him is not too hot, Michael Jordan can win some games for his team, right? When Michael got the players around him, he was a 6-time champ. Launching Chicago to a debut road victory. Wow, that is awesome. So yeah, I'm now keeping highlights. I'm digging this so much, man. And we did get a Murray for the women. Did score +2 there for them, but not good enough, right? Because of that -5 was 6 and 13. Yeah, 13 at half. Unbelievable. Wow. It's amazing. This so fast, so subtle. Highlighted players, base scoring matrix. It is a time game. It's exactly what the time engine is about for your games, your seasons, however you do it. But it has the key components, right? Team grades, rated highlight players, basically, and then, of course, a scoring matrix that should be dynamic enough. and then the games are done pretty quick. There can be details and highlights, right? And amazing. It just is a fine example of my time game series, right? He did it brilliantly, possibly better than any of my time games, at least enough that I'm hooked on it. All right, Los Angeles at again. Here's how I score it. Just so you know, women identical to his box score. I'm just going down the sheet because I don't have the space to go across it. And I'm now just noting what they score in each as opposed to tallying it as I go. So now I can look back and see Jensen had a -5 highlight, right? And Wall had a +3 highlight. Well, that's kind of significant too. I should note that in the highlights. And Wall, with Wall scoring big. There we go, +3. Because that's hard not to know. I mean, they're 2 stars, save Chicago, because Chicago is an F and a D. But they're 2 stars, vault Chicago, right? And here's an example of saying that's what's so cool about that is now you can have a league where you can trade players and things like that. And we now know how important these 2 players are. They vaulted a worse team over a home team. So you start to see the value of the players, which is just brilliant. It's just brilliant. And again, I don't play my original basketball game enough. I should, because obviously it would have hopefully a similar effect. Well, actually, mine uses a 6th man check, so it doesn't highlight players. This is genius because it highlights stars. It's truly remarkable, right? And it does it in a super simple way. You just make a box score check for your stars to have an effect. It's so genius. So genius. Roller Derby Dime's becoming a Desert Island game. I really have not played anything over the last couple of days outside of pen and paper football, anything other than this. So this ought to tell you, this has pushed drive time football to the corner of the table for a few days. This is quickly becoming a Desert Island game, and I'm not really a roller derby aficionado. I've seen it. I really love the movie Whip. I've seen roller derby. I really appreciate roller derby. It's just so much fun, you know. And tabletop sports, sometimes best to play sports that are on the fringe that you would have not really been into, like pro wrestling. I'm not a pro wrestling guy, but dude, there are pro wrestling games that I truly love. And I think it's because it allows me to get into what made those so great, which was the showmanship, which was the drama. So sometimes real sports can be a little dull on the tabletop, right? All right, here we go. Los Angeles versus Jersey. And Jersey, for me, is going to be my team in this because I just love the Jersey Jolters. It's just awesome. I love the logo. It's just too cool. So I'm kind of adopted them as the team I would root for in this. And they're actually not too bad. They're a CC, so they're not too bad. And they've got a couple of stars. But let's go ahead and take a look at Los Angeles visiting. The women, Mary Pocahontas Yoapelli, Joyce Beasley, Beverly Spider Wallace, Carol Seifert, Joyce Ray, Joyce Ray. Those are our starting 5. The men, it's William Marion Red Smart. That's one guy. William Marion Red Smart, George Copeland, Charlie Speck Saunders, and I swear to God, there was a Speck Saunders that played NFL pro football. So I wondered if that's the same dude. Lewis Punky Gardner and Hal Bones Janowitz. And note this, the Braves have no star woman, so they are not going to get any help from the women in the star moment of the first half. And their offense, Speck Saunders, who was a star in football, if it's the same guy, this guy's a stud in here. Plus, he's a 2+0, so he's going to score points for the men. Maybe pulling the Braves out of the fire. Women rate out an F for Los Angeles. The men rate out a D. So again, we're looking at the same scores as Chicago last game. Remember, Chicago won despite F and D. So LA certainly could. However, they don't have the advantage of a female star, which is so cool. All right, the Jersey Jolters starting ladies are Monta Jean Payne, Mary Lou Palmero, Jennifer Porter, Norma Animal Rosner. She's awesome. She's she's a 2+, but she's not a star. And Millie Bruno. And they do have an offensive star in Monta Jean Payne. So sweet. The men have Carl Moose Payne. He's a defensive star. They have Don Jughead Lewis, Paulie Mullane, Charlie Schuchart, and Smilin' Sid Hannersack. And this is a good team. They have the women are rated a B, the men are rated a C. They have an offensive star for the women and a defensive star for the men. I would expect the Jersey Jolters to not let me down this year. I would expect them to be in the championship at the end of this 14 weeks. So let's find out. All right, Los Angeles' women. This is the weakest unit in the entire game. This one unit is the weakest unit in the entire game. The only team that does not have a star on their women. So it's gonna be a problem for them all year. Four on F. They're gonna score 7 points, though they get the average. 7's the average. All right, the Jersey girls. Here we go. They're on B, folks. They're gonna get an 8. Yep, they are. They're gonna score 8, so they're already at home. They're up by 1. The Jersey girls getting it done. All right, the star for the Braves. They don't have one, so we just X that out. The stars for Jersey. They have a defensive star. 4, not gonna have an effect. All right, the men for Los Angeles. They're a D. 5D is 7 more points for LA's men. And the men for Jersey, 1 on C is 7. So we're halftime bonus +2. It's going to be 17-14. And Jersey's up by a fat 3. That's a big deal. However, the men in the second half with Spec Saunders for LA could make up those points by himself. He's a 0. So if I roll a 5, he would score 5 points by himself in the second half. As a matter of fact, I would watch closely Spec Saunders, as he may take the heart and soul out of Jersey in the second half. All right, the women for LA in the second half started off with 7 points. Good for them. And the women for 7. Fortunately, the women are so good they're maintaining despite poor performance. So you can see the scoring grade is how they execute, right? Their grade is how good they are, and then the matrix is how well they're performing. All right, the stars men. Here we go. Remember, Spec Saunders. If I roll a 1, 2, or 5, that's what he scores. 5, Spec Saunders. I said it. Saunders. You can hear him now. Coach told him before he went out, we're behind, Spec. You got to hit it. You got to fight for it. Spec hit the oval and lit it up with 5 points. Spec Saunders is going to add 5 to the men's score. Unbelievable. Let's check Jersey. But Jersey has a defensive guy, Moose Payne. If I roll a 5, he'll negate that. Oh, shit, Moose. Holy cow, Moose says, no, you don't, Spec. I'm every bit the man you are. And you can see Moose Payne. Every time Spec makes a run, Moose elbows, jolts, knocks him to the ground over the side of the rink. And we got Moose and Spec in an epic duel. Holy cow, folks. You can see it. I just said it. Saunders could be the man to change this game. But then Moose said, over my dead body. And you can hear it, right? It's like the scene in Hoosiers. I want you to guard number 22, and I want to know what gum he's chewing by the end of the game. And later in the game, he says, it's Wrigley, coach. He said, Moose, I want you to guard Sanders, and I want to know what bubble gum he's chewing. And right, Moose slides off, and says, it's Wrigley, coach. That's so fun. Dude, Moose steps up and stops Spec Saunders, who's a 2+ rated player. Moose is only a 1+ rated player. But he got the job done. All right, now we got to roll for the men. Damn. We were going to add 5 to this, but we can't do it now. Saunders. And the men for them are D. So that's 7 points. So they're going to get their 7 because Moose is negating Saunders is how that's going to work out. All right, C, men. We need to roll. Basically, we want to roll a 5 or up to guarantee the home team victory. And it's going to be a 2. 7 points. I think they still got it 1 just by home field advantage. All right, we got 14 and 14. 28 points for Los Angeles. 17 and 14 is 31 points for Jersey. They're going to win. We don't need to rally. No overtime. Holy cow, highlights. Wow, that is a battle. Second half battle between the stars, Speck Saunders and Moose Payne. You could also see that as Speck did get his 5, but Moose stopped everybody else, right? So you could still allow Speck his glory moment if you wanted to. I love the idea that Moose went out there and every time he made a run, Moose tripped him up or knocked him into the boards or, or punched him in the nose or whatever. Dude, that's awesome. Holy cow. That's the game of the weekend right there. So the final game of the weekend is a brilliant battle between the underwhelming LA and Jersey gets 31. So the scores are still how he predicted. He said these are all going to be close games because that's what it was like. And they're looking very close to the scores I had in my original. But the point is, I was missing that kind of joy right there, right? I was missing that opportunity to see Sanders score 5 or something. So that just gives more onus to the Stars having an impact and saving your game like Chicago's Jensen did for on the road in New York, right? So highlights, we're going to have a battle, an epic battle between the men, Saunders and Moose stole the show in the second half. Moose propels Jersey onto home victory. Boom. And there's my write-up, man. That is so awesome. All right, so that's week 1 in the bank, and now this video I can put up and proudly say is done right. I did everything right. We still haven't seen so Speck Sanders 5, right? But would have shifted everything, but because Moose countered him, boom, we didn't get to see a shift. So there would have been an example if Saunders had scored 5 and Moose had scored nothing. That's where the home team would have had a chance to shift. I have yet to see a shift, and I'm kind of okay with that. The shift is a little complicated, so that's a paragraph I've read 3 or 4 times, and when it happens in game, I'm gonna have to read it thoroughly. The shift is a pretty complicated move to change the chance of a team coming back, which is fun. But we kind of have the rally already. But so I'm not even certain I would like to use the shift, but I get why it's in there because it's supposed to show the epic battle between teams fighting hard to come back. But heck, we had that right here. So there it is, folks. Week 1. Again, I started over completely. I went ahead because I knew how much I was going to play this game. So I went ahead and took the 6, put them into conferences, and went ahead and made the schedule for a full 14-week epic campaign. Or excuse me, 15-week campaign. And the top two teams of the divisions will play in the championship. And I was thinking I might do a championship series, like best of 3 or best of 5. This is, Roller Dubry is ripe for a best of 7, right? So I'm thinking I might make the championship a best of 5, best of 7, kind of like basketball or hockey. It's just perfect for a series. And I just love the idea that we get to the end of a long season, a 15-week season, that you can't win it in one game. You're going to have to win it over a course of, you're going to have to win 4 out of 7 or something. It would be so fun. So I'm thinking about doing a series. But anyway, here you go. And I can now proudly put this on the channel because I did it right, fully right. And I did justice to this amazing game. Again, Christopher just absolutely nailed it. Again, based on my basketball time engine. However, I think he did a better... He used my ideas more effectively with the team, with the ratings, having the stars show up in the boxcar like that. Basketball Time does something similar. The original free version, Basketball Time, you make a roll to see if one of the star players affects the score. But I have not played my original Basketball Time in years, literally. I only looked at it when I began to rewrite it and tweak it, and I did a couple of play tests of the new version before I put it in Time Sports, the original Time Sports book. So I think the actual free version of Basketball Time, very similar. right? That's how much I've forgotten already. But the point is, it makes me realize, and again, I hate to say it, but I would enjoy this sport more than basketball, solely because this is not a sport that that I have a whole lot of memories and a whole lot of expectations of. So that's the great thing about playing something like a pro wrestling or these kind of obscure sports, is your expectations are just to play and find out. And I've talked about this before in role playing, in my theory, my theory videos on role playing and my theory videos on Grid Zone. Dude, play to find out. Drop the dice to find out, right? And I like the dice telling me the story. And but if I have expectations of the undefeated Dolphins, there's some apprehension every time I drop the dice that if this is a blowout of the Dolphins, I'm going to start to second guess the engine that I'm playing, right? And so that's the problem with playing, traditional sport, traditional replays, because you do have some expectations whether you admit it or not. Anyway, this has been roller derby time, and it is quickly becoming a whether I like it or not, it is 100% becoming a desert island game. Unbelievable. This I would like to have put in one of my books. I would have loved this to have been in Time Sports. Would have been so cool to have roller derby in Time Sports, right? 8 games in one book. The advanced, excuse me, the advanced book, not the Time Sports Complete or simplified. This would have to be in the Time Sports book, the advanced games, because it's just so sweet. Drilling down and seeing those stars in Pat play, so fun. All right, thanks for watching. Bye bye.